That's precisely right. Now,
Right. So thank goodness. Because I always look, I look at the you four siblings and the renegade, the Stefan.
yeah.
And thank God.
Right. Well,
Thank God somebody is a renegade,
yeah, here's something that's terrific. You've heard of ADD.
No, I know ADD.
Right. I have it. I definitely
You have it or you had it?
No, I still have it.
You still have it, right?
Oh, yeah. It's basically, ADD is a variable attention. It doesn't mean that you have a deficit of attention. It means if you're interested in something, you can sit and do it for 3 hours, no problem. People who have that ability also have a low tolerance for boring,
You're
tedious.
breaking up.
Oh, we have a low tolerance for tedious work.
Right. But you love things that stimulate you intellectually.
Sure.
Yeah. I like that too.
Right. So here's an interesting thing. There's this quote I'm going to read to you. Why are so many Americans diagnosed as having ADD? The incidence is far smaller in the rest of the world. It is likely that we in America have a greater concentration of the ADD gene in our collective gene pool. These people are constantly seeking the next big adventure. They are risk takers, relentless in their pursuit of the next activity. He says that the United States is genetically loaded with this personality type. And we can argue that there was a separation of groups due to circumstances. Why is it that the U.S. might have so much ADD? Since we have so many immigrants, this must mean that our forefathers had to leave their homeland looking for adventure in a new world. They were restless movers and shakers and probably could not stand being fenced in, either by lack of opportunity or threats to their freedom. This probably selected a gene pool of people who are chronically curious and willing to risk traveling down new pathways of exploration. Sounds like ADD to me. So,
wow.
chronically curious. That's what you and I are.
Wow.
We are.
That is, I don't think anybody mentions ADD in England.
No. But
I always thought it was because they are socially suffocated.
Yes.
And when I go there, immediately I'm criticized. Why do you do that? Why are you wearing that kind of hat? Why do you sit on the... I mean, I go home, I sit on the floor.
Sure.
Because I like sitting on the floor. I'm comfortable on the floor. And immediately my family say, please get off the floor. And I say, I'm sorry? They say, don't sit on the floor, sit on a chair. And I'm going, why?
Yeah.
And they say, well, the floor's not a place to sit. And I said, well, I'm comfortable here. That's what I mean. That's the kind of rigid social structuring that, for me, would suffocate the ADD person. So maybe it's true. Maybe it's not that English society or German society, which is worse, by the way. The Northern Europeans. The Finns and the Swedes and the Norwegians. All these guys are just repressed to the extreme. It gets a little better when you go south to Italy and Greece and Spain. They're a little bit more open, But I always thought, well, it's because of society that American society allows the ADD people to be themselves. You can be ADD and you're accepted. People find you interesting, they talk to you, they relate to you. That's a real interesting guy, right? But you can be different in America. And that's what I like about it, is that I can be exactly who I want to be, and nobody's going to say, you shouldn't be like that, Fulty, you shouldn't be like that. And they don't say that. They just take me as I am. That's why I love it here. Over in England, I can't be myself. It's one day, and I want to run away. I go home one day, I am panicking to leave, get on an airplane and come home.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, you are chronically curious.
I am chronically curious. I want to hear everything that you have to tell me, and I'm latching onto it, and I'm trying to think, how does that relate? How does that fit into my my world? How can I take that information? Everything's that interesting, you know.
Well, I think both of us can.
I might have ADD. Help!
Well, no,
does he have ADD? Oh my Lord!
Well, because
I probably do.
yeah, well,
Because I escaped.
right,
With all those other all those Anglo-Saxons who escaped and came to America.
well, actually,
It just took me another 20 generations, right?
you were left behind.
I was left behind. Oh my God! And now, of course, they say I'm lost. I'm lost.
Right.
It's so funny. Lost? What are you talking about?
Well, you've heard of Irish wakes, right? No.
What happens at the Irish wake?
No, because when people said, oh, we're leaving to go to America, they would hold a wake for you, saying,
I didn't know that.
we're never going to see you again.
That's
so,
true. They probably wouldn't.
No, they wouldn't. So this was
oh my God.
This was a big thing in the 1870s.
Right. Oh my Lord, I didn't know that.
Because you'd be spending all of your money just to get a passage over.
Right.
And it's a one-way ticket.
Wow. And then you would be lost.
Oh, yeah, they're gone.
Yeah, I have these email exchanges. Actually, I've got to go in a second, but I have these email exchanges with my brother, who's exactly the same age as me. I mean, it's a very nice comparison. We are 1 year apart, so we're almost like twins, And I keep telling him, like just recently, I try to explain. I say, Ed, that's his name, Edward. I say, Ed, you've got to understand, I left the reservation. And he emails back and he said, you cannot leave the reservation. It's impossible to leave the reservation. You can go to America, but you belong to this tribe.
Well.
Wow. And I go back, I said, I'm sorry. I just don't. I left the reservation. I'm out there somewhere else. I am not on the reservation with my tribe. And he says, impossible. It's impossible. You'll always be one of us. It's just a matter of how long before you come back. That's what he's saying to me today.
Well, see, if you're invested in the reservation, that's where it's safe because everybody follows the rules there.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, my God. I mean, I married a foreigner. How bad can you get?
Right.
And an American. Remember what my mother said when I married Bibi?
No.
She said, she was old, right? She was already an old lady, right? So she said, oh, Dickie, they call me Dickie at home, right? She said, oh, Dickie married again? Married an American? But Americans are so immoral. That's her vision, sitting in her little cottage in the beautiful Dorset countryside, little, English village cottage, right, with lovely plants growing up outside it, and she's sitting there, everything American, because America is Hollywood and movies and Washington D.C., right?
And moving from one relationship to another.
Yeah, and guns and violence.
Right.
So that's all she knows about America. She knows about movies and she knows about guns and violence and Washington D.C. perhaps. So her whole vision of this country is, but America is so immoral. It's